Aunt Luda's list. As soon as Mark became rich, his world began to shrink inexorably. Now he was surrounded only by those who were above the level, useful for business, or appropriate for status. He flew between time zones, and his personal assistant strictly filtered incoming calls. Therefore, when a call came to his brand new iPhone from an unknown number from his hometown, he, driven by a strange impulse, picked up the phone. And he found out that his Aunt Leuda, who once raised him, was dying. Mark was racing along a bumpy road in his expensive SUV. Everything irritated him. The dirt on the shiny hood, the squalid houses on the outskirts, the smell of manure that had seeped through the climate control system. He was on his way to fulfill a painful duty, feeling trapped in the past. His inner conflict was clear, between the world where he was an important shot and this godforsaken place where he was just Mark, nephew of Ludmila Stepanovna. Aunt Leuda was lying on an old bed, wrapped in a quilt, but her eyes shone with the same wise warmth. "Markusha," she whispered, squeezing his overworked hand. "I'm so glad. You will fulfill the old woman's last request, won't you?" Mark, shrinking inside, nodded. He was expecting a request for expensive treatment or money. "There's a list in the box on the dresser." She paused to catch her breath. "I need you to do it for me. Until the end." Mark opened the worn wooden box. Inside was a yellowed piece of paper covered with her neat handwriting. He read the first lines and was stunned. It wasn't a will. The list of joys. 1. To meet the dawn at Zavalinka. 2. Drink tea with mint from your garden. 3. To feed bread to the old goat Vaja. 4. Hear the church bells ringing across the field. Mark snorted. It was ridiculous. But there was nowhere else to go. Item 1. He, in an expensive suit, was sitting on a creaking wooden bench at 5 in the morning. It was cold and uncomfortable. But then the edge of the sun appeared from behind the forest, turning the dew on the spider web into diamond colors. And he sat with bated breath all morning, for the first time in years not thinking about deals and contracts. Point 3. The old goat Vaja turned out to be stubborn and moody. At first, he did not want to take bread from the hands of a nervous stranger. Mark had to sit down, talk to him quietly, coax him. When the goat finally gently took the bread between his rough lips, Mark laughed. A real, childish laugh that hadn't been there since he'd left this house. With each point, his irritation was replaced by a strange peace. He was drinking tea with mint, which he picked himself, and it smelled not just of mint, but of summer and childhood. He listened to the bells, and their sound was not drowned out by the city hum, but went straight into his heart. He reached the last point. It said, "Share your story. Don't be afraid to be weak." Mark was sitting in the kitchen and looking out the window. His phone was ringing off the hook. His world was demanding his return. But then he saw a neighbor, Aunt Shura, who brought him a pot of fresh milk. "You're a human, we need to feed you." And he broke down. He picked up the phone and called his most important partner, with whom he conducted tough negotiations. "Alexei," Mark said, and his voice trembled. "I'm having a hard time right now. The closest person is dying. And I can't think about the contract right now. I just can't." He was expecting ridicule, pressure, but there was silence on the line. "I understand," said an unexpectedly quiet voice on the other end. "My mother was ill last year. The most terrible period in my life. Business can wait. Hold on." This simple, human response knocked Mark off his feet. He was crying, sitting at the old kitchen table, and these tears were not from weakness, but from relief. The next morning, Aunt Leuda left quietly, in her sleep. Mark, who had completed her entire list, sat next to her and held her hand. There was no bitterness on his face, but a light sadness and great gratitude. He didn't sell her old house. He came here every few weeks. I sat down on a hilltop to meet the dawn. He fed Vaja the goat. I drank tea with mint. One evening, he was sitting on the porch. His MacBook was lying next to him, but he wasn't looking at it. He watched the swallows hovering over the roof of the barn, chattering. His phone was vibrating. It was a new partner offering a crazy, grand bargain. Mark held the phone to his ear, looking at the grey hair of Vaj's old goat in the setting sun. I'm listening, he said, and, after a pause, with a light, non-committal smile, he added, just make it short, please. I have it here. It's a very important matter.